Okay, today is the 21st of May, 2023. It's 18:31. I'll try and keep this as quick as humanly possible. The issue I'm having is I am unable to mount my SSDs to these front ports, which previously have worked. And this is the issue I'm having, is just specifically seems to be the front I/O. So that's not that one. That is a Western Digital, excuse me. So Samsung T7, just your standard Western Digital Blue, whatever, 500 gigabyte. Neither of which will mount. I previously had mounted this Western Digital Blue, and that will connect to the front. I can definitely get these drives to connect to the rear. That's the part that's really strange. So I'm going to dismount these. I mean, I could even go to. Oops, hold on 1 second. I could try disk utility. Disk utility and see if they even show up. Yeah, it's not even showing. As you can see, there's nothing there, and they're definitely plugged in. And the other thing to establish it is, look, it's got a light. It's got a light. So they keep telling me it's software related. And I don't doubt there's some kind of communication issue or error, software related, but the software has to speak to the port. Every single time it's been these front ports. So there's no point in me even dismounting it because they're not there. They don't connect. So I can disconnect that. Very quickly, try to do this all in one video. Establish that port on that one, because there should be 4 ports. I apologize for the boring video part here. That's cabled. So that's the 500 SSD Western Digital Blue, which runs into my Atmos. This is just a Samsung T7. They're both connected. So I think that one's the only one. So there it goes. So you can see they both popped up. So there's no issue from the rear ports. All right. You can even see them on here on the disk utility. They're there. So that's not really the issue. I think let's move on. So now I'm going to dismount them. Okay, so let's make sure they're both dismounted. Oh, and the Ninja isn't. Okay, so they're both dismounted. I'm gonna go to this one, which weirdly this is awkward. It'd be really easy if I had someone else to do this for me, and then I could either ring camera. All right, that's on. That's the Western Digital Blue, and that takes a minute to mount, but it mounts. So that, for some reason, mounts. Also, that's formatted as, oh, that's Mac OS Journal. That's interesting. So the other one you could argue, well, I'm not getting into that. So I'm just going to dismount that. That will work. Now I'm going to plug in this exciting SD card, which sometimes mounts, sometimes doesn't. It takes a second for it to do that. Okay, so this is AVCDH codec, show package contents. Bear with me. And then the stream, which is here. So this all seems to be working, which is good. Brighten SEO. Riveting. This is a static camera. Okay, so that all works. The SD card works. I have had issues with what I found is the read speed on this. This seems since it's come back from Apple, seems to be working better. These two seem to still have an issue. All right, so what I'm gonna do is double check. I'm going to dismount that. I'd apologize for the length of the video, but there's no other way to do this to establish. So now you just have the Macintosh hard drive. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shut the computer down. And I imagine what will happen is once I've rebooted the computer, that these two drives will connect to the front I/O. I don't think the fact that the first time I went into Apple it had to be wiped and reinstalled, they said it was a firmware issue behind this. Fine, I believe that. Maybe the first time I was like, okay. I took it in the second time, the same problem. And it's basically the read and write speeds just all over the place. They just don't make sense. Or the ports just fail, or it just crashes. The rear seems to work. There is some debate whether with this A port, whether that's working correctly, but I haven't completely established it. I can only let so much length for a video, otherwise boring the living crap out of everyone. So I'm powering it back on. And I'm guessing that these two will mount once it's powered back on. I will say that this is formatted for the Atmos. I will say that this, I believe, is exFAT, so just bear with me. So that's loading up. There was some previous graphics issues as well that seem, now that it's come back from Apple, seem to have gone away, which is interesting. It's kind of annoying because I keep telling this thing not. There we go. So that all came over relatively quickly. Finder, that's working. So now let's try and establish whether or not this is going to work. It's all ported in. So that's the Ninja, that's the Western Digital Blue, and guess what? It's popped up immediately. So the problem with the files that I had before, and I didn't film it before, but I tested this on my 2017 laptop, which has now been sold. The same exact file, I think it was this one. Was it a Comedy du Apollo? Or it was, hold on, one of these. I think it was this file, which is, yeah, it was this one. It was a 59 gigabyte file. I have no idea if this will just fail. So, but the problem you can see here is, like, first off, that shouldn't even spinny like this. It should just immediately start copying. It's a 60 gigabyte file. It's running out of the front port, and this is the issue. And then what I'll have someone say is, "Oh, it's the file. It's corrupt." But here's the thing: I just don't have video footage of it. I ran a test on my 2017. It worked fine. I don't know what the speed was. It worked relatively quickly. I ran a test on my neighbor's computer. Again, it worked quickly. I had copied previously from someone else's computer. This isn't even working. Okay? So, operation cannot be completed because the device has disappeared. Okay. That makes no sense. And the only thing that, and this is the part that's weird, is this will work from the rear of the computer, but it will not work from the front. Now, I don't know if I'll get the same response with this, which I've never seen this error before, so that's interesting. So operation cannot be completed because the device has disappeared. And then I've also got the disk has not been ejected properly. So this is a bit ridiculous. If I try and relaunch the Finder, which could possibly remount the drive. Thank you, Spotify. I have a striking impression that it's not going to show up now. And I admit completely that that is formatted for the Atmos Ninja V. It's required because I have to format it. I mean, maybe I could Mac OS journal and stick it into Atmos and see what happens. But the reality is it's worked on every laptop, every MacBook I've touched computer that I've touched, other than this one having a problem. And I think I never had any problem. Like previously when this all started in February, I could copy all the footage in the back of the computer, but the front won't work. These two ports don't work. That's the thing I keep trying to establish for them. They keep like telling me, oh, it's the hardware or the drive. Anyhow, now we're at 9 minutes, so we're gonna disconnect that. We'll try connecting this one and seeing if that makes any difference. So this is the Samsung T7. This is formatted, if it shows up, and I don't think it will, is formatted as exFAT, which the reason I have it set up that way is if I need to transfer it to a PC. And again, you can see the problem I've run into now is once that drive is pushed out, it will not recognize the drive. But you can take the same drive and I can put this in the rear of the computer. Bear with me. I mean, I wish things like this weren't necessary. So, that's all connected. There we go. And it's, guess what? Popped up. And I'll have them say, or Apple will probably say, oh, well, it's Thunderbolt at the back. Say, well, okay. But the drive's the drive. That's a USB-C 3.0, maybe Gen 1, Gen 2, I'm not sure. eSATA connection. Used it multiple times. Been using it for years now, and it works fine. So let's go to the drive, and let's see if I can even copy that file just directly to the computer. Well, before it crashed, like 2 minutes to copy it. And look at the speed in which it's sustained. That's a 60 gigabyte file. Now, it may, and this I think has happened before, I don't know if it will. I'm gonna stand here for 2 minutes, and I apologize for the video being now 11 minutes and 37 seconds long. But that's consistent. That's all I really want from the front. And I don't expect it to necessarily be quite as fast as this, because that's Thunderbolt, but like, here's the thing. The cable, this cable is USB-C 3.0. The drive is what the drive is capable of writing, which is it has to write at 400 megabits, not megabytes per second, to create 4K footage. So all I want is to be able to copy footage. Sorry, this is out of focus. It's being really weird. Is to copy footage at a reasonable rate from the front. And as you can see here, it's now establishing, if we can get focus, about a minute. So it's done about half of it. And hopefully it'll do the whole thing. So, and I mean, the thing that I don't want to be told, and I worry about, is being told, oh, well, it's your hard drives. It's this, it's that. Well, that's working from the rear. So as long as it copies the entire file, and this was the file that started everything back in February, all I tried to do was transfer it. And the other, as I whittle on here, the part that I wish I had filmed it, but there was no way for me to know that it was gonna happen. When I initially plugged this in through the front, I went and copied the file, which was this file, or the previous one to, excuse me, I'll be more accurate, it was this one, which is slightly different size. It's 39.75 gigabytes. I copied it, and it must have done it in like under a minute. Okay, and that was incredibly fast. I was so blown away that I couldn't believe it. Okay, so that's done that. There's nothing wrong with this file. There's nothing wrong with my hard drive. Okay, I think that well establishes that there's a problem with the port. And you could say the only thing that I can think of, and this is the part that's weird, is that the rear ports are somehow only compatible with multi-platform formatting. So this is formatted for the Atmos Ninja. This is formatted as exFAT. And that whenever you try and connect those formats to the front USB-C, and this may be very much specifically software, that it doesn't work properly. But you've seen it eject in this video. The whole like drive just ejected, and then if I try and plug in, all right, let's be more scientific, shall we? Okay, so hopefully, so you can see that worked. I was able to copy that file, which technically I probably shouldn't have. It's just a video file of stand-up comedy that Hammersmith Apollo, okay? So that file's there, no problem, copied it, not an issue. Let's eject the Ninja. Because one or more programs may be using it. Well, I don't know why it's saying that. I'm not using it with anything. So one or more programs. Double checking. Well, the Finder might be using it. Okay, I might have to eject, force eject it. I don't know why. So I'm gonna share, but we'll do that. Okay. So, and let's just, and I know we're at 15 minutes, try and keep this. So we're gonna plug it into the front. It's not an Apple certified cable, okay? But here we are again, and there's no joy. Okay, nothing is working. You get a blue light, which means it's powered, but it's not connecting. There's no flashing, which is what it should do. So I think that well establishes the fact that there's something wrong with these front ports, as I've said from the beginning back in February. And I feel like a broken record. The only thing I can think is, again, this is formatted to the Atmos, this is formatted as exFAT. So the only thing I can think, like Apple's designed this that only works with Mac OS Journal, which that may be, and that's why that's connecting. But the whole point, I work with cameras, is to take stuff that's formatted or I need to and put it in the front. So that needs to be fixed. Or, you know, it is that the protocol, the formatting, in combination with some kind of issue with the hardware here. But as you can see, nothing is happening. So I'm going to disconnect that. I'll try connecting this drive. Okay. And that one, again, is lit up, but I can guarantee, or not guarantee, but we'll show it, that it's not working. Now, what I'll do is we could pop this one in the back. We're now at 17 minutes. I apologize, but at least you're getting a. God, this is really fiddly going from the back. And that's my other frustration. It's kind of like I don't want to have to reach over every time I have to connect my camera footage to the rear to stick that in. That's the whole reason that this is at the front. And it's like, look, I don't need Thunderbolt 4 to USB-C is sufficient. That's USB-C. Okay, USB-C 3.0, I don't even need Gen 2. This is more than sufficient to copy footage. I use it all the time. Right, so the rear is there. You can see it's mounted, so it's working. So it's not the drives. There's nothing wrong with my drives. They work from the back. You could look and we can try and speak. I don't know what I've moved into a different kind of, I'm trying to see if I have any footage. Like there's this 3.84 gigabyte file. And I think I had actually tried to copy it to a different device. Now, if you watch how quickly that'll copy that. Okay. So like that was done in seconds. That's 3.84 and it was done in seconds. Let's try something. I don't think I have anything huge in here. I know there is actually some large files. So hold on, arrange by size. I'm gonna be able to do that. Maybe that's 9.63, 1.53, that's not very big. Sorry. This is from a shoot. These are all quite small files. 2.45, I know there should be, hold on. I apologize, right. All right, whatever. I know there was a 100 gigabyte one in here somewhere, but well, that's 5.25. So let's just copy that real quick. Where's this? There it goes. Look at that. Seconds. So I don't know, like that, you know, say it's a 5 gigabyte file, 5 times whatever to make 50. So it's 10 times that. That was done in seconds. What I have found is that the rear of this, we're now at 19 minutes, ports like almost any file from like 30 gig up to 100 gig will copy within approximately 2 minutes. And if it's smaller, I don't know if I have anything in here that's like a 20 gigabyte file that I can try and demo. GFX. Unfortunately, most of these are clips. I know I have a larger one somewhere in here. That's a 2 gigabyte file. That's 7.52, which is a bit bigger. There you go. That's how fast that's doing it, which is lightning fast. That's very, very fast. And all right, that's Thunderbolt. You know, that's the connection to the back. But here's the thing. What it's connected to is a USB-C cable. It's a USB-C cable that was supplied with this drive. And the write and read speed is all limited. Well, the speed of this drive is limited to what it is, okay? So we can just disconnect all of these. I don't know where I'm going with 20 minutes of meandering about with all this. I think the next thing is to show that, and I think it's fair to establish that there's nothing wrong with my hard drives, other than the computer doesn't seem to want to dismount them. There it goes. So that's the rear. But if you were to plug this in, which I believe is formatted some form of Mac, which still takes a little while to boot up. Now you could argue that's interesting, as in it's definitely plugged. There it goes. So again, the same project. Just see if I can find anything footage was. There should have been a much larger. It's only 9. That's 4.29. This is really weird. I swear there was like a massive file at one point. 2.37. This is someone I work with who's. I don't know, whatever. That's 2.45. Oh, I know it. It's like transcoded. Hold on. So let's arrange by size. Let's try. That's 12.45. Hold on. And that's 13.44. So this is from the front, and we're now at 22 minutes and 31 seconds. This is really exciting. So this is I think that's a USB 3.0, but it's a 7200 RPM drive. Just copy that over, and we just have a look at how riveting fast. Like, that's doing that at 2 minutes, okay? But like, it's constant. That's the thing. And even if I bring up the Blackmagic speed test and we select the drive and we go over here, this is may slow it down, and I hit that drive and I establish a 1 gigabyte. So this is the Blackmagic. It does seem to be slowing down, but you know, it's saying 2 minutes. It's doing 13.44 gigabytes, so I added an extra. But I'm going to put a bit of a strain on it, and that's acceptable, I guess, for maybe USB 2.0. But this is where we start to see problems when you start pushing multiple. Like, all right, so I'll take the strain off of it. And I mean, that's USB 2.0, maybe a bit better speeds. But you can see here, it's just completely stalling out. So I'll cancel that. It starts back up again. So I don't know if you got that. If I try to give it 2 tasks simultaneously through the front, it just goes completely bonkers. So again, I'm emphasizing the fact that maybe Mac OS Journal, as I can point out here. So that is OS Journal versus the other drives, which aren't, which I can prove by plugging in, which are now almost 25 minutes long. Again, I apologize about the length of the video, but at least it's proof. So this is the thing when you get told they can't replicate and store, right? Okay. And all of those have mounted themselves as well, which is a key part. So the Western Digital is chugging along. As long as you don't give it another task, it kind of goes along. if I gave it another task, it'd probably slow down significantly. And that is one of the issues that I've been finding. So if I mount like 2 drives to it, it just cannot handle. But I'm gonna just show. So that's done, and let's do what the 2 terabyte one. So the 2 terabyte is exFAT. I do that specifically if I have to work with someone with a PC. The Ninja seems to be exFAT. That is formatted to work with the Ninja Atmos, the Atmos Ninja V. Okay, so I format the drive when I put it in there, and I want to wipe it completely clean. So that's their formatting. I've never had an issue copying it to a Mac, not one. So what I seem to notice now is that if it's macOS Journal for the front, it seems to be working. But I think that that's another thing which is frustrating to me at 25 minutes and 58 seconds. I don't think anyone in Apple, in the Apple store, is going, oh, let's try different formats and see if that has anything to do with it. So I've had to establish this on my own. So let's just mount everything, and I will try again. As you can see, I believe the file was copied. Yeah, there it is. So that works. Okay, that worked. But if I gave it more than, say, 2 tasks, I could try that right now. Let's give it, before we finish, we're making this lovely long video, and we'll do another. So that one's loaded. Okay. This 30-minute video is going to be really long. So that one's the 13.44. I'm going to give it a small one that's like 3 gig or something like that copy. It's working. Let's try and load it up with another one as well. I'll just copy that. Bear with me. I apologize for the length of this video. So I'm just going to load another one. It seems like if it's macOS journaled, that it may slow down, but it's chugging along, which is interesting. I feel like a nut job, actually, just spending all my time talking about these drives. So yeah, I mean, they're all working. I think we can establish that that's... So I think my conclusion at this point in time is this has got to do with how it's formatted, which is just straight up bonkers, because obviously people need to use different formats. So I've ejected all those. The Western Digital is the one that was working. Unplugging that one. Unplugging 2 SSDs, which we know, or I would establish, work perfectly fine. So I'm gonna just, I hate the sound of that. Very difficult to do with one hand. Right, both of those are now plugged in. That one's blinking. Oh my God, look. This is the part that's really weird. Well, before it wouldn't work, I've now plugged that one into the left. And what I have found on multiple occasions, this one's always been more difficult. That one seems to work sometimes. But as you can see here, so let's try. Let's download. So unfortunately, I don't think I have that large file on here. So the best I have is, I don't know if I would like exports, maybe, final. These are all going to be quite small files. Yeah, these are quite small. So I'll go back to medium image, we'll go to transcoded, and then I will do by size. So we're going to find something equivalent, maybe the 13.4. There you go, this is the same file. It's 12.45. So, copy that over. Now it's working, and working consistently. And that's I guess the issue that I'm having as well is the fact that it works sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Right now it's copying at the speed in which it should, and that was quite quick, wasn't it? I mean, that was under a minute. It was 12.45 gigabytes. The other thing to note here, as I move into 30 minutes, is these are all MOVs, these are all ProRes. That's UHD, so the codec, the wrapper, all of this is a device driven and created by Apple. Don't know how it'll handle if I try and copy, say, this file. There it goes. Look at that, seconds. So the part that's really strange, and that is the left port, and this is an exFAT drive. I thought it had something to do with that. So again, I would say, at first I thought it was maybe the formatting. By my conclusion, running all these drives through the rear and seeing that they all work and it's not the drives and they connect and there's no problem there, and the underlying technology is the underlying technology. As I've repeatedly said to them, there is something wrong with this. And I think that's a pretty expensive test. I mean, I can't necessarily, I can unplug this and I can plug it back in again and try and get it to mount. But it's just coming out with a blue light, and that's the port that's always been a problem. And again, I'll emphasize, when I first got the computer back here and I plugged it all in and I copied the file that I showed you earlier, the one from the comedy, it did like the first one, it was like 30 odd gig. It did it in like seconds. I was like blown away by how fast it was. And then I went to do the second one, and that's where everything started failing. And I think within the YouTube channel, I have video of me attempting to copy that file over and over and over again, and it's just constantly crashing. Again, works from the rear, doesn't work from the front. And I thought maybe, hey, it's formatting, but it's like, we could try something else. So I know we're at 31 minutes, but eject this. So let's get crazy. We'll plug that into the left port. And look, it's reading. And it's mounted. So there's a consistency issue here. We're going to go for the file that's caused all these problems every single time. And you saw it earlier. It's the same file. It's not different. It's 59.44. I'm really hungry. I have to get up at 5:50 to go to London tomorrow. Now, it's establishing itself at 2 minutes. Again, this is not the right port, the one that dumped us and gave us that weird error message. It's the left port. The question is, and I'm going to sustain this, and then I'm going to call it quits at 30, hopefully under 35 minutes. The question is whether or not it will trip the drive and kick it out, or it'll continue to copy. And I think that the problem, and fair to the people at Apple or the Apple Store, is if they're trying to duplicate it, and sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not, this is the issue. I mean, this is a really long video, but you can see, like, I've tried everything. I've tried swapping the drives around, and it looks like the left port's working. But as I've over and over again pointed out, this one is the one that's the issue. And sometimes it just dumps the drives. They won't even connect. And then the other is, like, I have to then connect these drives to the rear to then bring them back to make them connect to this. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I don't think, again, this is, so this is the Ninja V. So that's exFAT, and it's formatted to the Ninja V by Atmos. So for a second I thought, oh, maybe it's formatting, but I don't think it's that either. Uh-oh. Houston, we may have a problem. This has happened before, and I tried explaining it to Apple, is it gets partway through, pull out, and it just can't, there you go. So, and I know people are gonna be like, oh, it's not the file, okay? If it was the file, then how could I copy it from the back? Okay, and I've used it on other computers, and it works fine. And I've been using this technology for a couple of years, and it's fine. And all of this works on other computers. That is a failure. So again, that leads me to believe that there's something wrong with these two ports. It's not just software. It's got to be something else. And that's inconsistent. I think I've demonstrated that quite well, that's failed. So then we're back to that, and I've also got this as well. And all I was doing was copying footage, and it got about halfway through and failed. But if I plug it into the rear, it'll work fine. So I don't know what to say. I mean, I could try connecting this drive again and see what that. We're at 35 minutes now. And what was, see, now we're just getting a blue light. So it won't even load that. Let's just get crazy. To be told there's, and I apologize for pointing at the computer like that, but there you go. There you go, that's reading. There it is. I'll do it one more time. Other, same file, 59. Bring that down, get the window, bring that down, there you go. I'm gonna sit here to prove a point, and I'm hungry. 35 minutes, so hopefully this will be done by 38 at max. And this is exactly the same file off exactly the same hard drive. Let's just get rid of this message up here. And I've tried this on multiple computers. And there's, you can see, I'm not like, there's no tricks here. It's plugged in there. It's the same cable, same drive. I haven't mixed the drives up or anything like that. And it's chugging along. Like last time I think I got to like, without me rewinding this obviously because I'm in the middle of recording, got to about 25 gigabytes and that's when it crashed out. And I think I can hold on for about another minute. Again, I apologize for the length of this video, but I don't know how else to establish this. So thank you for your patience. About a minute. So, and I don't know if like, say for example, we go like this. So we go to activity monitor. And I don't understand completely how all this works, but say CPU or memory, physical memory, energy, disk. Data read. 45, like, look at that. So I am always slightly bemused by the activity monitor and what it does. But that's going, and coming in at 38 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. And it hasn't booted the drive or anything like that. I'm so hungry, you can hear my stomach. And this is the file that I established everything from the beginning back in February. I think it was February 6th this year. It's having no problems whatsoever. So now that file is copied, no issues, didn't boot anything, and reiterate, it is not macOS journaled, it's exFAT. And I cannot spend my time reaching over, as you've seen, uncomfortably trying to mount all these things from the rear. The whole point of having the front I/O is so that I can do that. And I really don't want to hear anyone talk about Thunderbolt and the speeds of Thunderbolt. It's not a Thunderbolt drive. It's a SSD. It has a limited read-write speed. It's a Western Digital Blue. It's rated the one that will work with an Ninja-V to write 4K. It has to write 400 megabits per second. That's a USB-C 3.0. I don't know, maybe Gen 1, Gen 2, I don't know. But it's not a Thunderbolt cable. So that works. Eject this now. Just for kicks, let's just try plugging it in. Blue lights come up. No, it's not. Now I got a blue light, but it won't mount. And I can try doing this. Give it a second. Make sure it's mounted properly. Now it's just going blue solid. So it has to flash for it to mount. And I think I could do the other. So go to disk utility. And you can see here that the drive is not showing up. So it's not showing up there, it's not showing up there, and it's not showing up there. So, all right, let's get crazy. We're at 40 minutes now. We're gonna plug that into there. Okay. And again, we get a blue light. But that blue light does not mount the drive. And I can take the same drive, just to prove a point, plug it in to the rear. Just to make sure you all believe me. There it is. And you can see it blinking. And guess what? It's mounted. So my conclusion is there is something wrong with these. Possibly something wrong with that, but that seems to be working now. So maybe that was a software fix. They claimed it was firmware. So you can see it here as well. So you can see the Ninja there on the disk utility. You can see it here. It's on the Finder. That's all good. And I can even do a select the hard drive. I'm sure you're all really bored because this is now 41 minutes long. And I'll select 5 gigabyte screen to test, which is a bit weird that it does that. Okay, so let's go back to 1. And all I'm doing is stress testing it. It should read and write better than that, really. I'm a little bit disappointed about that. It should nip through it. I don't know why it's doing it so slow, but anyhow. It's not copying anything. I think it's clear to see that that's defined as actually mounting. So it's not my SSDs. They mount from the rear. From that conclusion, you have to draw. I mean, I could try porting something in with an A port, but this is only through the rear. I have previously, back in February, I tested every single port on the back once this problem occurred, and everyone on the rear seemed to work. I did run into a problem where it seemed like it wasn't running properly off of that, which is USB-A 3.0. I think it's Gen 2, but it just happens to be an A port, and that's just a bridge. So there might be a little loss in that, but the main problem I'm having is here. I thought maybe the issue is moved across to the other ports at the back. That doesn't seem to be the issue. And it's that particular file that I've tried over and over again to use. And I sometimes work, which is this one, which is, just for clarification, 59.44. That's not even UHD, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. This is just HD video. I mean, the data rate's probably about 100 MBS or a bit more per second. You can see here the kilobits in the size, but don't know if there's any more info I can add to that. There you go. There's Apple. This is even an Apple codec. Okay, HD 1:1, 1 hour 35 minutes long, and it copied that in 2 minutes through the rear. So and it mounted the drive as well. So I don't know what to say. So you can't say it's that. And I thought for a second, and I know I'm repeating myself, that it would be something to do with the formatting. But as you saw as well, I did all that, copied it, and then I don't know if it'll mount again. I know this must be incredibly boring. And let's avoid the port that seems to be the worst and just go to the left. If I can do it with one hand. There you go. And it's lighting up blue, but yeah, not mounting. Anyhow, all right, I think it's well established, and you can see there it's not mounting there either. And that's definitely plugged in. And it's lit up. It's just not recognizing the drive. But, I mean, if I were to say, dismount that again, and plug in the Western Digital, which is really weird, which you can say lighting up. Lighting up. That might take a minute for it to mount, but there it goes. So now I wonder as well, what if I get really crazy considering I've just plugged this in, which is Mac OS kernel, to plug that in, will that then mount after it's been... All right, well, let's try something else. So just for kicks, let's try, you can see that that's lit up, this one worked. I didn't. Let's rotate them around. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mount that. This is the Western Digital. Into the right port is the most evil. Almost an hour long, or 45 minutes. Hopefully that should mount. The right port is the most evil. It's the one that I've always had the problem with, or where the problem initiated back in February. There it goes. Took a little while for it to go, but it showed up. It's a little disconcerting that it would take that long for it to mount. And I've just connected this one, which is not showing. Okay, so just one more thing. We're gonna connect this one, which I think that was the one that worked before, I'm not 100% sure, but okay. Blue light, but no flashing blue light. And as you can see, nothing. And I think what will happen now is I'll have to, as I did before and demonstrated at the beginning of this video, probably like 30 minutes ago, you have to turn the whole computer off and reboot it for those to reset, only for them to sometimes work or for it to eject the drive. So again, I'm gonna reiterate, it's more than software. It's not hard drive formatting, it's not the hard drives, there's something wrong with it. I think considering the fact it went in February, it's just gone in, we're May. I just got it back whenever I established that other video. That was the 18th, but I picked it up on the 15th. And I also, prior to that, I did everything on the phone before the 6th or whatever, when all this started. So this is now turning into a ridiculously long video, but will be uploaded to YouTube. I hope Apple will appreciate this. Maybe this will help someone else. Maybe someone else is having a problem as well. So, I guess don't give up. Be persistent, try a bunch of tests. Look, at the end of the day, the fact that this isn't working, I don't have a problem if they just would fix it. And I think once, and I get sent in and then told, yeah, it's a software issue, and they give it back to me, I can live with that. The manager, and I'll say this out loud, she was very kind. She gave me that and the brick for it as an apology for the fact that a brand new machine that is, it was a month and like 3 days old, that this wasn't working. I bring it in the second time, I'm annoyed because it's doing this. And I was pretty clear with them. And I showed them video, and I had the YouTube channel, and I showed them, explained it all. And then when I go back, they just basically on the phone, they just told me, it's a software issue again. Well, it may be a software issue or maybe related to software, but it's definitely more than that. I think I've established that in this video. So I appreciate anyone watching this and anyone from Apple putting up with it. And if this ends up going to Tim Cook, it's like, look, obviously things go wrong. Manufacturing line, not everything's going to come out perfect. I would just really appreciate not being dismissed at what I'm telling from real world tests, okay, and diagnostics saying that they work. You can see this works some of the time and then not worked all the time. But twice it's ejected the drive from the front, but the drives work fine from the back. So manufacturing can go wrong. I just want something that works. I don't want my money back. I just want a machine that does what it's supposed to do. I wouldn't mind some remuneration for my aggravation. Coming in at almost 50 minutes with this video. I've been back and forth to Apple. I've been on the phone with them, and I've just had the manager shrug her head at me as if I'm crazy. Anyhow, I hope this might help someone. Tim Cook, if you're watching it, ultimately, or someone works for Tim Cook, just please understand that, don't just keep shoving stuff back in our faces until, all right, I'm whittling on, I'm hungry. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps someone. I hope it helps me. All the best. And today is, again, just to reiterate, the 21st of May, 2023, 1920.